All right, welcome to 0.3, finding slope between 2 points. There's only really one skill that I found for this one on Khan, but it's pretty simple. I think this will be a pretty easy video and a pretty easy skill for you guys to level up on and master. So we need this formula here. This is our basic slope formula. M is what represents slope, and these are just the values from two coordinates, see? So x1, y1, x2, y2, these are just two coordinates that are somewhere on the plane that they give us. And we're going to calculate the slope. So example 1, write the equation line that passes through the 2 points, -4, 5, and 0, 2. So what I like to do right away is just label these points. So let's just call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Now that you have them labeled, you can easily see where everything needs to go. So, y2, what was y2? It was 2. What was, then we're going to do minus, what was y1? It was 5. Then down here goes x2, which was 0, minus, and x1. Now this is where people tend to make a mistake. Notice that x1 is -4, and we already have a minus here. That's okay, we're just going to put -4, or a -4. And so now, what does that happen? Well, 2 minus 5, that's -3. Now, what happens down here on the bottom? Remember, when you have a double negative like that, it turns into a plus. It's like adding. So that turns into 4. So the answer is -3/4. The slope is -3/4. Simple. That's all we're doing. We're just plugging into this formula and figuring out what the slope is. Now, what does that mean? That means that it goes down 3 and over 4. So this line would look like it would go down 1, 2, 3 units, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would keep making that progression throughout the entirety of the line. We'll see that more on some of these down below. Okay, so practice 1A here. I don't know why I called it 1A, but practice 1 here. Write the equation line that passes through these 2 points. So now I'm giving you 2 sets of points. I just want you to do the same thing, plug it in the formula, and find out what the slope is. So go ahead and give that a try. You're going to want to pause the video and work on it, and then just unpause it when you're ready to check your work. All right, so x1, y1, x2, y2, plug it into the equation. You should end up with 3/10. Now, a couple things here. Sometimes students ask, does it matter if I label these ones 1 or 2? Could this be x2, y2? Yep, it totally could. You can make this your x2, your y2. You can make this one your x1, y1. The only thing that you cannot do is you can't say like, oh, this is x1 and this is y2. The numbers have to stay together. So this has to either be 1, 1 or 2, 2, 1, 1 or 2, 2. Other than that, it doesn't matter just as long as they stay together. All right, so now we're on to the next problem here. Example number 2. Identify 2 points on the line and use them to write the equation of the line. Oops, I think those directions are flawed. I just realized that. So we're going to say use them to write the slope. And we'll change that here to write the slope. Oh, slope of the. Okay, my bad. So let's take a look at here. We're going to zoom into example 2. Identify 2 points on the line and use them to write the equation. So we can pick any 2 points. I would recommend picking points that are obvious and easy, okay? So you'll notice that like not all the little dotted lines are filled in here. So one point that I see right there, I'm gonna go ahead and highlight it, is that point. And that point is 0, 1. So let's make that one of my points. Now let's try and find another point on the graph. You'll notice that if you follow this thing down, when it hits the x-axis here, that's not such an obvious point. So let's just keep going until we find an obvious point. That looks like an obvious point right there. So let's pick that one. I'll make this one my second point. And we'll call that 4, -2. Okay, from here, we can pick which one we want to be x1, y1. It doesn't matter, like I said. But let's just say x1, y1. x2, y2, and let's go ahead and do the slope form, which we already know. The equation is y2 minus y1, if we look above in our notes, over x2 minus x1. So what did I call y2? I called it -2 minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 0. Okay, so what's -2 minus 1? Well, that's just -3. And 4 minus 0 is just 4. So this is negative 3/4, which is, interestingly enough, the same slope we had in the first example. And if we go back here, we can kind of see now what that means. What does that slope mean? Because remember, slope is really just, and this is worth writing down, you'll see it in a few other videos, this is really just like saying rise over run. So what's the rise and what's the run of the line? Well, the rise is negative 3, so that means it's going down 3. The run is 4, so we're going to see our line go down 3 units and over 4, down 3 units and over 4, and it'll just keep doing that forever. That's what slope is. We'll come back to this idea later, but this idea that it's rise over run may be something that you want to jot down with. You should have seen that before at some point. All right, so I want you to try practice 2, identify 2 points on the line, and use them to write the slope of the line. Slope of the line. So again, pause the video, give that one a shot, and then check back to check your work. Okay, so I picked these 2 points. You could have chosen different points, but these 2 were the most obvious to me. I had this one at 1, -1, and this one at 3, 3. I made this one x1, y1, this one x2, y2. Again, you could have switched the 1s and 2s. It doesn't matter, just as long as they stay together. So when I put that in my equation, I get y2 minus y1. So 3 minus -1, that's a double negative. So that turns into a plus. That becomes 4. 3 minus 1 on the bottom, because those are my x's. That becomes 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my slope here is just 2. And before we had a fraction. So what is 2? Well, one of the things I want you to remember, right? If this is rise over run, and this is just 2, well, isn't 2 just like 2 over 1? And so we could say the rise is 2 and the run is 1. So remember, any whole number could be written as a fraction just over 1. So let's see, is that true? Does this thing seem to be having a rise of 2 and a run of 1? Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2. Yep, that is definitely a slope of 2 over 1 or just 2. So that's how we can write slope or find slope. So now what I want you to do is do the summary. And for the summary, I want you to pretend like you're describing slope to a 4th grader. How would you describe it? How would you describe negative and positive slopes? So think about that. I want a few sentences in your answer. And I'll see you guys on the next video.